I'm Fisher DeBerry, head football coach of the Fighting Falcons of the United States Air Force Academy. What an honor it is for our program to be asked to do a tape for championship productions and for you on the 3-3 or the stack defense. We base everything we do here at the Academy on an attack attitude. We attacked on offense, we attacked on defense, we're going to attack in the kicking game. The stack defense gives you the opportunity, I think, to show a lot of different looks. It gives you an opportunity to attack offenses from a lot of different pressure points. It gives you an opportunity to rush with a 3, 4, 5, or even 6-man pass rush. And certainly with the fifth defensive back on the field, it minimizes the amount of matchups, the amount of substitution that you have to do. So I hope that you'll really enjoy and get an awful lot from the tape. You're very blessed to have the opportunity to hear from the finest defensive staff, I think, in the country, and the 3-3 has meant a whale of a difference in the success of our defense here at the Academy.
I'm Vic Sheely, the secondary coach here at the Air Force Academy, and we want to take this opportunity to talk about the back end play of the stack defense, and particularly that of run support and the base pass coverage philosophy that we have, and then to get into alignments, to set adjustments to techniques, and just talk about our pattern read cover 3 and a little bit of our man-free coverage, which are kind of the core of what we do behind our 3- and 4-man fronts. I want to take a moment to thank Charlie Strong and the staff at the time in South Carolina a couple of years ago that we visited and got many of their ideas, and through that we've been able to take many of the things that we've done here over the last half a dozen years with 3-man fronts and be able to incorporate to make our own package. But certainly we would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge a lot of what they did and what they shared for us in our program. You know, one thing about the stack defense, the half a dozen or so college teams out there running it, while each defense looks similar structurally, as we have visited around and watched tape on the other stack teams, each team is uniquely different in their apparent philosophy and the things that they've done. Our philosophy here at the Academy is that we want to really be a high reward, low risk approach to playing defense. Doesn't mean that we're not aggressive. We want to try to get guys off the field, get them off schedule, get them 3 downs and outs, not let them get in the red zone, do things in order to try to win the field position war. But at the same time, we believe strongly that if a team doesn't complete deep balls on you, doesn't make yards after the catch, and doesn't gain in the running game, really gains of more than 5 yards, then we feel like a more patient approach can often lead to very high rewards. And with our 3- and 4-man fronts, certainly I think have kind of chiseled out a little bit of a reputation of being a zone blitz team, and so all this kind of goes into building our package. Many kind of ask why we've gone into this nickel-based defense whenever teams this day and time still are very committed to running the football. And as Coach Bell discussed earlier in the tape, the first tape, is that it's gotten difficult to be able to match up your personnel to the more creative ways in which people are substituting offensively. And so what we want to really try to do is be able to play with one core personnel group on defense and learn how to make it adjustable to all the personnel groups of offense, make it adjustable to sets, and make it adjustable to all the different ways in a ball game that an offense is attacking us. Much of the other reasons why we really feel that the stack fits us is because of the type of kids that we have in our program and what we continue to see us being able to recruit. We get good players, but sometimes we don't get that type of player that we can just lock down as a man player all day long. And so for us to be able to be a zone-based defense, to be able to work it so that it becomes more of a matchup zone, taking on a man mindset is key and important for us. We are also a pattern read pass defense. We don't just drop to landmarks and zone off on the quarterback's intentions. And so as we go through this tape, we'll try to share with you all the things that makes us unique, try to share with us our ideas and many of the adjustments that we go about in trying to bring about a pretty comprehensive pass defense. I think the philosophy that we have really ground ourselves more than anything else is do a little bit really, really well as opposed to doing a lot, with major breakdowns. And so as you look at us today, we're going to share with you a significant part of what we do. And while it may seem simple in some ways, we feel like if we do it well, then we have a chance to be successful. What I want to first talk about a little bit is many of our reasonings behind how we line up and what we do within the back end. To take a common set of a two-back regular personnel, we want to take our nickel secondary, the 5 defensive backs. It is a 3-safety defense. Our Falcon and our stud are 2 strong safeties, as typical of most defenses, and their alignments vary depending on the alignment of number 2. Coach Tom Miller here shortly will talk about their alignments, their reads, keys, different techniques that they play. But just for structure purposes, I want to make sure I include them in, since even though we have 2 secondary coaches here at the Academy, the 2 areas must really work well together as one. Our free safety's base alignment, if the ball's in the middle of the field, is at 10 to 12 yards. This depends on the run-pass tendency of a down and distance. This depends on maybe where there's 2 tight ends, 2 backs in the ball game. Obviously, the chance for a run to appear, then we want to tighten his alignment up more to 10 yards. Whereas if we get 3 and 4 wide receiver sets where the throwing game becomes a little more obvious, then we want to try to deepen him a little bit so that maybe he doesn't have to work quite as hard in his back pedal in order to keep receivers in front of him and to keep a nice leverage on the threats that are in the middle of the field. Our corners will line up 7 yards on the outside shoulder of a normally aligned wide receiver. Now, we do give the flexibility of a corner to line up about 8 yards if that particular player finds it more comfortable getting another yard of cushion. Sometimes I think our younger players, it helps them to play from 1 yard deeper so that they can see more. Things don't happen quite as fast. The downside of that is often we can over-cushion routes that we should be able to be more aggressive in playing up on. So I think you've got to be careful that you don't create in a young corner's a mindset that being cautious is necessarily a good quality. I think being aggressive still has to be what we create in each of those young people. So just really kind of, once again, to recap alignment, our corners line up on the outside shoulder of number 1, 7 to 8 yards deep. Our free safety lines up 10 to 12 yards deep in the middle of the field. Now, if the ball goes to the hash mark, so if the wide side of the field is in this direction here, then we'll take the free safety and align him over the field side tackle. What that does, that gives him an opportunity to line favorable to the middle of the field, but also not to remove himself out of the box so that he can't really be a quick add-on player in order to prevent a running play from gaining more than 5 yards. As we look at weak side number 1 receivers, often we get the 2 tight end, 2 back sets, much like what you see in your conference or in your region. And when we get these type of alignments, we still take the approach that we're going to be 1 and 7. Now, sometimes we may tighten up to 6 yards if we get into a 3rd and short, something where we really want the corner to add on more quickly. And as we kind of talk through run support here briefly, anytime the corner lines up on a number 1 receiver who's aligned tight, really his major key is to be able to take an aggressive add-on or field mindset whenever the tight end blocks up. That is the only receiver that can really threaten his particular area of the field. Thus, when he does block up or block out, then we want to support accordingly. Traditionally, we do support to the outside foot of the outside linebacker in our defense, the stud here, so that if we were to get a down block and a fullback and force that ball to spill, that our corner would always be able to catch a spill, supporting once again to the outside foot of the Falcon. Now, we spend a lot of time each week in evaluating our opponent's wide receiver splits. We know that typically back in the boundary that if the number one is going to line up fairly tight, so the ball's on the hash mark and he's off the numbers or on top of the numbers someplace, then we're going to see more of outside cuts by that receiver or shallow crossers. We make a radar call in our defense, and what simply radar means is that let's broaden our radar, everybody on that side of the field, and let's understand that his split is telling us something. All right, now, obviously, a quick out cut may not mean much to a linebacker, but it may mean a great deal to this Falcon sitting back in here where if we get some type of a quick three-step game, then he needs to understand that a short split gets a quicker out cut. Our corner will take more of an outside leverage to a shorter split so that he aligns for a little more success or leverages for success. Conversely, to the wide side of the field, if we get a wide receiver split that's pretty tight, near or just outside the hash mark, then our approach at corner is, here again, to take a more 1 to 2 yard outside leverage so that we can either defend, some maybe type of play action, post corner or some type of out cut, speed cut, whatever areas where they're really trying to attack this area here. Typically, we also may see a shallow crossing route from a tighter split or a reverse, while those two routes often in a zone-based philosophy don't really threaten that corner too much. At least he can begin to kind of yell out short split. The Falcon can be aware of more crack possibilities. The backside safeties or corners, 5 technique, whoever might be responsible for some reverse responsibilities over there might hear short split, and be aware. Now, on a wide split to the wide side of the field, in the same way, we want to take a leverage alignment that leverages for success. We know now that with a wider split, then typically we're going to get those inside cuts. Thus, by leveraging ourselves for more success there, we use that angle to our advantage. Typically what we tend to get are those teams that, be it 2 tight end, 2 back, or 2 back, 2 wide receiver, where off the play action get, if it's not a bootleg, that really people are trying to take and attack our corner in more of a one-on-one scenario. Use the play action to hold our linebacker underneath coverage up, off, and they're working these deep bending, quick timing post routes. All right, so I think anything we can do to help our corners line for more success is going to certainly be beneficial. We talked a little bit earlier in the tape about short splits and how it brings about an outside leverage mindset. Crossing routes are something that typically we don't run with in 3 deep zone. Thus, I want to make alerted calls to my safety and my linebacker for crossing routes. With that, immediately our free safety will drive and cut deep crossing routes in 3 deep zone. It's just one of the things that we do because we do not want to put the pressure on play action defenders or defenders who are in run pass conflict to necessarily have to be able to get this kind of depth in their zone. So we'll cut the crosser with our free, and with inside third, then the free safety will take, cut here in the corner, will drive the post. This short split is echoed all the way back to this corner, so he knows he's got the chance of losing the free safety, so he can play a little bit bigger in cushion to handle the post. All right, now as we begin to move on now to routes that come off of 2 back sets, both corners are playing inside third technique. Both Falcons are playing buzz techniques, which takes them more for width. Really, we're trying to open out to work underneath number 1. All right, the corner up top, you'll see he's playing more as man. All right, there's no attempt to keep my shoulders on the front part of my body back to the quarterback. Cushion begins to kind of close, thus I'm beginning to play the fade first, breaking up on the out. And once again, as long as he has enough cushion to defend the fade, then the post is held or secured by the middle third safety. All right, as soon as the receiver changes posture, any kind of inside cut, any kind of chopping of the feet, any change of upper body posture, then we're going to see the corner begin to run out of that cut, and it's a nice play of stripping the ball out of the hand. and you'll see both corners. This corner got a little more cushion. He's a little bit of a younger player, but closing up to the receiver as man, as opposed to being a zone player, just being a spectator on the field. Now, whenever we get multiple wide receivers in the set, and for us, we typically see, out of what we call King's double set, we typically see quite a bit of multiple stand-ups to the field. Been in a conference that throws the ball, or at least the reputation of throwing the ball quite a bit, we must really be able to take a corner and align him so that he understands how two receivers threatens his zone more so than where one does. Whenever we get two receivers as a general base, we will line up inside leverage if number one is in a normal width from the ball. So if the ball's in the middle of the field as such, and he's somewhere in the neighborhood or at the bottom of the numbers, we consider that a fairly normal looking split, then we'll take and line him up with the inside shoulders at 7 or 8 yards deep. However, if there's a tighter split, something in that fashion, then once again, we'll line him up 1 to 2 yards out, figuring that maybe we're trying to get some kind of route where they're trying to really outflank a secondary who's been brought in by receiver splits. What I want to begin to talk about first of all is our base coverage here. Cover 3 is a 3-deep zone. Now, what we really try to teach our guys is understand that even though we are a zone team, once again, we are a team that pattern reads underneath, and in the back end, we are a team that tries to quickly make a zone defense a matchup zone and creating a man mindset. Whenever we get one single width in cover 3, we teach a technique called an inside third. Now, it's a third of the field that I'm responsible for. But the term inside corner at any responsibility of wheel round player. On the inside. Threatens me. I create a man mindset in that corner route, cornerback, and I defend all normal routes: the curl, the stop, the out, the dig, the post corner, the fade. All gets treated as a man player. Here at the academy, whenever we're playing man, obviously we are looking to try to create a defender that can drive on all cuts. In cover 3, and I'll get to the free safety's role here shortly, but in cover 3, with a middle third player who is there to largely protect the defense against the post, as a corner playing inside third, and I get a threatening release by number 1, my only concern is to maintain enough cushion to be able to defend the fade. All right, so if I'm in a pretty good healthy position in order to sit there and be able to turn out and defend the fade, then I have all the cushion that I need and I require. Often the older corners, you want to, I think, create an understanding. They begin to kind of sit down that route, particularly if after the first few series they begin to understand how quickly a receiver is going to climb on top of them. They can use their hands, use a collision, and also, to work on creating that good fade relationship. If a guy runs a post on me and I'm really sitting hard on the outside shoulder or the inside shoulder, depending on the split, and I feel like I have enough cushion to defend the fade, he may beat me early on in the post, and that's fine because even though we may be playing chase slightly on the post, I have actually a pretty advantageous position now to undercut the hard-thrown timing post and really ask that safety to make that play on the post that typically splits he and I. I think anytime offenses begin to see you really play as a man defender on a single receiver, typically all the normal double cuts begin to kind of appear. The little out and up, the post corner. And so I think as we get through this tape and look at some of the cut-ups that we have for you, I'll hopefully be able to show you, obviously a comprehensive effort being made in this program to teach the corners to understand that you got to be great on the first cut. If you're not, the balls get completed on you all day long. And the first time you make a great play on an underneath cut, then you got to expect the double cut coming. Real quickly, I want to talk a little bit about some of the other issues that we really challenge a corner. With the older corners, the ones that are more experienced, we really try to take off of the quarterback a three-step key. For me, in this corner, in this coverage of cover 3, my corner's key is the quarterback. Any work off the ball at 45 degrees, we call that level 2 or level 3, the corner plays as pass, and he takes ultimately his run pass key back off of the wide receiver. And I play it that way because I want to really create, at least in our conference where we're seeing the ball thrown half the time, I want to recreate a pass mindset in that corner. Unless it's level 1 option, where maybe we'll start looking for in linemen coming off the ball, where now I can quickly anticipate maybe cracker placement or defeating the stalk. Those are the only times where I really create a heavy run mindset in a corner here. All right, back to the three-step key here. The ball comes off at level 3 straight back, and on the third step, the quarterback hits and stops. And we all understand what a traditional three-step drop looks like. Then at corner, I want to immediately post my toe, and I want to look to drive on the route. Understanding that usually the quarterback sets prior to the receiver hitting his mark for a cut. So I want to begin to kind of post that toe prior to his cut even being made. All right, a normal looking split typically gets a hitch route. Wider splits typically get the slant, and a tighter split typically gets the speed cut. Although we do see some of the slant coming out of a normal split. So I think that relationship back to wide receiver splits does have carryover. All right, now that technique is mirrored on both sides, the weak corner, the strong corner, the field corner, the boundary corner, the left corner, right corner, whatever we're doing at times to maybe flip a corner, we are looking to always mirror that technique if I have single width in the formation and cover 3 is called. And my technique, if I get 2 stand-ups, changes because now I've got 2 skilled receivers who can attack my third. And so to come out of a man mindset and go into a pure zone mindset, we call this technique a divider. And for us, a divider is simply that, is that I want to divide either horizontally or vertically the number 2 and number 1 receiver as they potentially can attack my third of the field. Now, being a 3-deep zone-based coverage, the number 1 route we're going to see quite a bit of is the 4 verticals. Well, a corner is not concerned about the 4 vertical threat on that side of the field, but he certainly is responsible for the 4 vertical threat here. So anytime he has a receiver alignment on his side of the field that could get a 4 vertical possibility, we make a stretch alert call. Stretch means a vertical stretch. And sometimes we kind of abbreviate the 4 Vs, but we are very concerned about this route being defended well, so we probably spend as much time practicing against this route as anything that we do. All right, so anytime I'm playing a divider, my typical leverage is always inside of number 1. Sometimes we might be outside if it's an unusually tight split by number 1, but we're not usually getting a stretch alert with tighter splits by number 1 because they're not really trying to spread you down the field. So under normal splits, then I'm usually taking a 7 to 8 yard depth, 1 yard to inside shoulder on number 1. I push out to a back pedal in everything we do here. As I push out to a back pedal and a quarterback now bypasses a 3-step drop possibility, then immediately I'd want to zone turn or turn inside. And so as we'll show here shortly in the cut-ups, I push out to a pedal, I'm keying quarterback. I get three-step drop by the quarterback. I post my toe. I break on the hitch, slant, or quick out. Now, as I looking back in the quarterback and I see a drop beyond three-step drop, then I want to sit there and now I want to turn inside back to the quarterback in a zone turn, and I want to gain depth and gain cushion, and I want to split the difference or dividing the threats between 1 and 2. And as long as number 2 is working vertical and I feel number 1 outside, then I want to divide that threat. And what I'm trying to do is give help to the free safety or the middle third defender so that a ball caught several 3-4 yards outside the hash mark, that really I should make the play in the overlap as opposed to the free safety having to come out of center field. Obviously, when the ball gets thrown inside the hash mark, it's a little more difficult for that overlap to come from the corner. And, but obviously, as we'll talk about free safety play here shortly, it makes it much easier for when the free safety has to only defend a ball thrown between the hashes. One of the biggest causes of concern is that as I'm dividing the difference between 1 and 2, that I not forget that often number 1 is a deeper threat than number 2. That's because number 2 been off the line of scrimmage, and often a lot of times number 2 has been rerouted inside, and so there may be a 3 or 4 yard difference in the depth, and so I always have to take my cushion off number 1, not off number 2 inside. Now, that is a horizontal stretch that occurs for a divider. If the number 2 receiver runs a flat route and number 1 is vertical, this is what's different about an inside third. I cannot commit myself to driving on the inside cut as long as number 2 is in a position to run a wheel route, which now all it is, the opposite of the 2 seam is the wheel post. I still have a threat in this seam and outside the number. This is a corner back. If I get to the flat, goes beyond 3-step drop, I will turn and open up, gain depth, and I will not close at all on number 1 unless I see the quarterback's intentions and the ball starting to really kind of show into here. Then I'll play my instincts and drive when I see that. But as long as the quarterback's holding the football, then I'm sitting there holding my depth and splitting the difference between the post and the flatten up or the wheel. All right, this is probably one of the more difficult routes, I think, traditionally in cover 3 for your corners to handle, because there is conflict being placed on them. Sometimes number 1 is pushing downfield much deeper than what maybe the wheel route is, and so there's a problem where his cushion has been determined by number 1, but the actual threat and the greatest of his worries, that this wheel route may be 6 or 7 yards behind that post, and so sometimes when he works back up, there's a void in there. And so that's just something that we really work on, is him being able to throttle back his cushion on 1, understanding that in this case often maintaining the proper relationship to be able to break back up on this flat route is more of a priority. All right, so this is another way that we're getting kind of split in here horizontally or challenged. If at any point in time in a divider, number 2 cancels out to the inside or runs some type of a dig route, all right, then typically I'm looking to try to take the corner and now hem up the remaining vertical. And I play that as man. So once again, we're trying to challenge our guys to take on a man mindset. All right, 2 cancels out inside quick, or on the dig, I come off of my divider and now I drive the remaining threat of number 1. We teach that most of the time whenever we get inside cuts by 2, we typically get inside cuts by 1. All right, the 2 most common combinations are shallow crosser and a dig, or look, as long as I know I have post help, then I can kind of let my cushion close down and drive a dig. Dig by number 2 typically gets a post by number 1, and so I play a little bit with more cushion, play a little bit bigger there. It's entirely possible that on one side of the field that we may have an inside third player being played here because of single width, but when 2 removes himself, we get 2 skills out there, which brings about the divider technique, that now I've got a divider played on one side. All right, quickly to talk about the free safety technique. I think it's really important that with the free safety that you really got to drill him constantly on middle third breaks. Put him in on a field between 2 hash marks. Let the coach be the quarterback. Take a 5-step drop. Make him drop between those hashes so that he becomes so instinctively and fluid on breaking and opening his hips prior to the ball releasing the quarterback's hands. as a free safety is pushing out to the middle third and pushing for good cushion, keeping a good broad vision of the threats on the field, at the academy, as long as we have one skilled athlete, even if it's a single receiver side, we do play a true middle third. We do not typically tend to cheat or press towards a skill. Now, if we get some type of middle third with relatively little athletic ability backside, then we will start pushing more to the skill in the field. But typically, if they're skilled, they'll threaten the post on both sides. We play a pretty true middle third, and that middle third being pretty much in between those hash marks. I really want to see that free safety maintain great knee bend, great nice speed in his back pedal, working for both stride length and stride frequency as he back pedals, seeing and kind of feeling threats on the field, and understand that quarterback is going to show his intentions at some point in time. If the quarterback points his shoulder to one particular direction, I like for the free safety to actually open his shoulders that direction without opening his hips. I think that helps just a little bit cheat his way to the more probable side that the ball is going to be released to. I think it's a real crucial mistake, though, if you let a free safety open his hips up to the quarterback's point of his shoulder, because obviously the quarterback looks back the other way. Now the free safety has to turn in quick turn. Just a quick illustration of that. If we are getting seams here and seams here, I think as a quarterback goes back, and now if his shoulders are pointed there and he's already starting to open here, and then he turns back here for this seam, I think you're putting that free safety at a real big deficit. And so I think you can let him open his shoulders without opening his hips, and he can work back to the actual throw. One of the biggest challenges here, I think, at the academy sometimes is because of the amount of cover three we see, that we play, and the amount of four verticals that we see, is that sometimes those verticals can come at different levels. Sometimes they can come at a level of about 14 yards and begin to stall out, and you're not careful, you can over-cushion that route. By the same token, we can see them really push deeper, all right, making it easier on the safety because there's more time, with the ball in the air. So sometimes you got to take, even in the course of the game, and talk to your free safety about over-cushioning verticals, kind of depending on that particular ball game and how an opponent's trying to attack you. To look at the divider technique up top, you can see he's in a position to play over either or. At the bottom down here, probably a little more cushion should be had on number one. He's taking his cushion off number two, and thus the quarterback, I think, sees this and goes to it. It's a nice job of quick turning back out, working to get back into phase, and it's a nice job, but this is an area that you have to really kind of work on because people will try to come back behind your head there. All right, with multiple stand-ups on both sides, we get dividers by both corners. If number one cancels out, then obviously now the corners will begin to drive more to the number two receiver as the curl techniques here played by our Falcons secure one. Our linebackers do a nice job of putting air underneath the ball. And we get nice overlap. You see got just really nice over and under help and inside out work. It's a nice play by the free safety. All right, what we're going to try to do here shortly is talk a little bit about our Falcon curl and buzz techniques. We have a Falcon who is a strong safety, he plays to the wide side of the field, and then a stud Falcon, or we refer to him as our stud, is typically our boundary or weak side Falcon. And we do that in order to try to do some things that puts some of our players' greatest assets in particular roles to make plays. And Coach Tom Miller, who coaches our stud and our Falcon, will now visit with you to talk about their technique.
Hey, I'm Coach Tom Miller. I coach the Falcon backs at the Air Force Academy, and we have two of those guys on the field. We actually call one a Falcon and one a stud. We're trying to differentiate right now between a field side and a boundary side Falcon, weak side, strong side. The characteristics of this player, we've come to realize that this guy is a pretty unique guy. He's not an easy guy to find. We thought that maybe that would be the case. We found to the contrary that this guy has got to be a pretty complete football player. I think possibly your best, what I call contact athlete on the defense. In other words, he's got to be very athletic, but he's got to be very physical as well. We like to think of a guy as when they run the football, he's a linebacker. When they throw it, he's a defensive back. And that's a tough combination to find sometimes. But we still have had excellent play in that position, and we do have some people that we feel like will do a good job in that area. We have gone from taking linebackers, ex-outside linebackers, and that's what I coached previously. They're no longer in our defense, so I needed to find some job security, so I volunteered for this Falcon job. But you know, the linebacker types seem to struggle more so than the guys that come from the back up to the front of the defense. In other words, the guys that have played safety or possibly a large physical corners seem to be able to do a better job with you know, with the workload that we give them. But that's the characteristics. He's got to be a physical, strong player, a good run support guy, and a good underneath cover guy. And we even play some cover one, some man coverage. So he's obviously got to be able to run with a stand-up wide receiver out there. And you know, although we try not to put him in a lot of those situations, and certainly try to bring some pressure when we do lock on man-to-man. As far as our alignments are concerned, you know, the first thing is we tell that, you know, we talk about tight end alignments, we talk about tight end, split end alignments, tight end flanker alignments, twins alignments, and trips. And you know, as far as the tight end alignment is concerned, we vary his depth. Probably our base would be 3 and 3 off the tight end, and that Falcon would with no width in the formation, he would be thinking about, depending on the number of backs in the backfield, that he's a run support guy. And so we start out at 3 and 3, but that will vary, and it will vary according to some different things that we like to always have our guys being aware of. We want them always to be aware of down and distance, okay, hash, where is the ball? Is the ball on a hash? Is the ball in the middle of the field? Has a lot to do with where we would align and what our threats are. Down and distance hash, personnel, what personnel is on the field. In other words, is there a tight end in a two-back set? Is there a tight end in is the tight end the single receiver on the weak side? Is the tight end into the boundary, tight end to the field? All of these things. And then stances. And we always talk with our guys about recognizing what kind of stances, what kind of set. You know, in other words, this is a one-back set right here, and so is this a one-back set. Well, obviously, there are different run threats in those two variations of a one-back set. So if it's in shotgun or if the quarterback's under center, we have to be aware of that. But we talk constantly about those alignments. And so with a tight end, you know, the first thing is tight end alone, no width in the formation. You know, there's not a lot of variables. And so, you know, we want to be a guy that can support the run here. It's not a big pass threat. This is not a large pass set for this Falcon right here. If we're talking about on the split end side, where we don't have a situation where you know, whether it be one back or two back set with a split end side, now our alignment is going to be, in general, that he's going to split the difference. So he's going to split the difference between the tackle and the split end. And again, now we have a little more depth off the football, probably going to be between 5 to 7 yards off the football, and he is going to be able to be a bounce guy. We always want him to be bouncing. We always want him to be moving. Always want to be showing them a threat because we bring these guys in blitzes. So we always want that guy to be showing a threat to be a blitzer. And so he'll bounce back and forth, but in general, he will end up being somewhere between the tight end, between the tackle end and the split end. And a one-back set, he certainly can favor more to the split end side because it's not a big run threat over here. With a two-back set, he has to be more aware of the run possibility even to the split end side, even though it's not toss, or it's probably not going to be toss or stretch play or sweep. Most likely be some type of counter play that he has to come up and support on the run. So we talk about tight end, split end. Now when we talk about twins, two receivers out here, and with now in general now in cover three, he is going to be at a 7 yards off the number 2 receiver and an inside shade. He's going to be an inside shade. And so as an alignment. And again, we always want him to have the threat of bouncing, being a guy that, is going to show blitz, because we do bring this guy off the edge, and not just to stand there, not be any threat out there. But he is he's going to line at 7. And then when we get to a trip set, he would maintain the same alignment. And of course, with a bigger split, if this were wide field, we're talking about now that he becomes less and less a run support guy and more a pass defender, of course. Obviously, when we start getting into our bubble screens and that type of thing, it really is more like run support, even out of trips. But he has got to be thinking pass. When we talk about tight end flanker, and we've got this situation here, with tight end flanker, is the ball on the hash mark? If the ball's on the hash mark, he doesn't have very far to go to get underneath the number 1 receiver. But he can bounce back and forth and change his alignments quite a bit. If the ball is in the middle of the field now, then this is a big threat out here. He's got a long way to go. So he's probably got to come closer to being a guy that's, that can get out of there. And again, now it goes back to ball in the middle of the field. What is the personnel? Is the two-back set? Is the shotgun? That makes a difference in his alignments. Is it a one-back set? Also, ball, with ball in the middle of the field, what do the stances look like? Are we heavy on our hands here? And our linemen do a great job. I'm sure Coach Burton talked to you about our linemen, trying to help our people back in the back end when they detect light stances to make sure that they do a good job indicating that, so that we can get a better jump on our pass drops. Our keys are obviously when we're out here in twins or we're out here in trips, we're more involved with eyeballing the quarterback and receiver, but we are always to the open end side interested in reading the hat of the last man on the line of scrimmage. Last man on the line of scrimmage. If we've got a high hat, we're reading pass, and we see through the last man on the line of scrimmage to the backfield, see what's going on in the backfield. Is the quarterback getting back off the line of scrimmage, and is he at level 3 where he's going back, or he's already in the shotgun? See the backfield. Are the backs stepping up to block and pass protect, or is it looking like run? Okay, so he keys through the last man on the line of scrimmage. In the same way, the Falcon back to the tight end side keys through the tight end to the backfield. And again, is it a one-back set? Is it a two-back set? We have to be aware of this, and we're looking for that high hat, low hat release. If we see a low hat, it's a block. I've got to come and support the run. Okay, and if we see high hat, he's getting out of there. Then we know that it's time for us to get into our pass drop. We'll talk about those drops in a minute. So those are our alignments to these different sets. Okay, and then we talk and again, what is our pre-snap read? down distance, hash, personnel, stances. And those are important to get all the information you can possibly get before the snap. As we read our keys, we're going to talk about now in cover 3, run support, and it's 2 back run support first, and then 1 back. And what are our different emphases on as far as those different personnel groups? Okay, in a 2 back run support, we may have this type of thing right here. Okay, in cover 3 now, whether it be twins, let's talk about pro set. Okay, we've got a Falcon over here to the tight end side in a 2 back set. We have to be thinking in 2 backs. I'm an outside force player with a tight end in a 2 back set. I've got to be primarily thinking about run support. And if we do get low hat and we need to support the run, then what happens? What we're going to find that most of the time, my rule is if I've got width in the formation, I'm an outside force guy. I'm a squeezer. Now there's a lot of different ways to do that. I can have motion over here, and this could be a power this could be a power play off tackle. This could be a toss sweep where I pull lineman, whatever it might be, and there's probably going to be a big guy coming at me. And then that's where this guy has got to be a linebacker. And so when we talk about outside run support, we're going to come and attack, okay? And first thing we do is we bounce our feet. So we're going to bounce our feet as we're reading so that we don't fall for play action. We're reading this guy right here. We're reading through the backfield. And as we see the run play develop, we're going to come in outside support. And there are 5 different plays that we talk about all the time. There's outside runs, there's inside runs, okay? There's drop back pass, there's 3-step, okay, and play action. And that's simply the way we break things down. So is this an outside run? Bam, I'm an outside force guy. Okay? And so that's what I need to do. In a 2 back set, if it's an inside run, all right, then I'm going to sit back and I'm going to be a fold player. I'm not going to be but I really have to watch out for any kind of bounce out because I'm the outside force guy. Okay, if it's drop back pass, because I have single width in the formation here, if it does become drop back pass, then my job is I am a buzz player underneath the number 1 receiver. Okay, if it's 3-step, then what I want to be doing is I want to bounce my feet, and if it's 3-step, don't gain any more depth, but break to the football. Okay, break to the football. So I don't want to get into a big drop. If it's play action, my job is to play pass, and on play action, I should be if this key should hold true, and I should get a high hat right there, and I should not be fooled by play action, because again, I'm looking through the tight end into the backfield. All right, when we're talking about the Falcon to the split end side here, we have to realize now that to the split end side, I'm an outside force guy, but I'm also off the ball somewhat, and it's not as big an outside run threat. Any outside run threat will probably come back to this Falcon over here in the form of some type of counter play. So I have time for things to develop. But if the counter does come, I've got to come and be an outside force guy right there. The other thing I'm doing in cover 3 is if I have width in the formation and I don't have a number 2 receiver on the line of scrimmage, I'm going to give an I'm here call. Okay, I'm going to give an I'm here call. And so what I'm doing there is I'm telling these linebackers, whatever the call is, it could be a number of different things, 4-man rush is going on here. It is a 4-man rush, we know that. Okay, and I'm going to tell the two remaining linebackers, because one of these backers is going to be involved in the rush. Let's say we've got a ram going right there. Okay, then I'm telling these two remaining linebackers, Mike and Lou, that they can run. They're free to run, okay, if flow goes away, because I'm going to add on as a linebacker right there. I'm the I'm here guy. And now why do I know it's an I'm here? Because in a two-back set, I have a single width in the formation, and I do not have a number 2 receiver on the line of scrimmage. Anytime I have a tight end, I'll never be an I'm here player. Okay? I'll never be an I'm here player. I'm an outside force guy. Okay, so that's those are the 5 type of plays, and that's run support in the two-back set. Okay, run support in the two-back set. The other thing that we have to be aware of is, okay, I am an outside force, what we call a squeeze player. Which means I'm going to take things on with my inside pad. Anytime that I'm an outside force player without width in the formation with a tight end, we're telling him he can be a spill player. In other words, if a sweep, with this type of scheme, or a toss where they take this guy and motion him and toss sweep and lead on the corner, I can spill because I've got an unblocked corner here. So I'm going to spill to the unblocked corner. So we're telling that guy, no width in the formation. You're the outside force player, but you're a spill player. You're a spill player. And that's a rule that we try to keep standard over there. So that's our two-back run support. When we talk about one-back support, okay, what we're talking about is a totally different thing. We may have twins here, okay, and let's say we have a double set. We have a double set, whether it's shotgun or a quarterback under center. Now we have outside force here, but we don't need to be a linebacker because it's not a two-back set. We don't have an isolation problem inside. So we simply are an outside force situation. I line up in my twins standard alignment 7 with an inside shade, and I recognize the split here. I always need to recognize the split. If I've got a big split, very often it's because this guy is going to run some kind of an out route, or because they're trying to get me away from a run play. They're trying to split me out to keep me out of run support. This defender over here, he's got single width, okay, but he's also got the possibility of stretch over here. This is a good run situation. We don't need him inside. We don't need this player inside. We're in a 3 linebacker defense. I am an outside force guy. I'm not a spill guy because, again, I've got width in the formation. As soon as they go to trips here, okay, now again, I am lined up on the number 2 receiver. Now I know I can spill to the unblocked corner over here. And so if we do get a low hat read, then I am certainly able to do that. And when we talk about pass drops, okay, and when we talk about this Falcon back, with width in the formation to the tight end side. Okay, what we're doing right here is we're saying, okay, this guy, anytime you have single width in the formation, he's a buzz player. A buzz player means that he is pattern reading the number 1 receiver. If this guy stops right here and hitches, if he runs an out, okay, if he any underneath route, any short route, he's a buzz player. Okay, a buzz player also, if we've got this type of thing with the back in the backfield, single width, he's a buzz player because of the single width rule. All right, now he is also a wheel player. If the back comes out of the backfield and runs a wheel, any buzz player is a wheel player. Wheel means the number 2 receiver is running down the sideline, a deep route down the sideline. So that's his rule. So single width, I'm a buzz player. What is a buzz player? Play number one. When number one comes out of the backfield, run with it. And that's his rule. Okay? Whenever we get trips out, or twins out here, okay, then what this guy, again, his alignment, after he bounces around and shows a threat, we don't want him to just line up out there and let him know what we're doing. Once he shows a threat, then he's back to an inside alignment, again, on the number 2 receiver. Recognize the split here. You know, there are different splits for different routes. You can anticipate, you know, if you've got a wide split, you're going to get some kind of an inside route. Most of the time, if your split is fairly tight, anticipate some kind of an outside route. All right. If we get just straight seam routes right here, okay, then his job is he is going to bang across. We're a 4 under defense. He's going to bang across number 1, number 2 to number 1. And he's going to be underneath the number 1 receiver. And so, you know, he is ready for that guy to get a ball quickly here, or any kind of a slant route. If we do get double slants, he again does the same thing. He bangs across number 2 to play underneath number 1. There will be a linebacker underneath the number 2 receiver. So his job is to help out on number 1. He's also, if we get curl flat, you know, he does not run with the wheel in this situation. He is a curl player. He is a curl player. So he's gonna hang the curl, and what we tell him to do is, as soon as number 2 goes to the flat, it's either going to be curl or slant, or it could be post. He's got it short, between 10 and 12 yards, and his job is to get, he can just backpedal very often and just backpedal in front of that curl, and to read the quarterback. Keep his eyes on the quarterback, read the quarterback's eyes, settle on the quarterback. One of the things that we have to work real hard on is when the quarterback stops right here to throw the football, that he no longer gains any more depth, but he tries to find that number 2 receiver, the new number 2 receiver, and tries to find that curl. And very often that thing will come back all the way across, and so it's his job, you know, to find that thing, to melt with that receiver, and to melt with the quarterback's eyes, so that he is mirroring, he's seeing where the quarterback is looking, and you know, try to, if anything, delivering him to the linebacker, who may have a tougher time getting that width, but is working from the inside out. Okay, with trips, you know, what again we're talking about is recognizing splits. Sometimes we get a tight split here, and you know, there's a reason for that. You know, sometimes you know, this is a formation where we get a lot of bubble screen, where we get this and this and this. It really becomes more like run support. Now, he is the outside force guy when he recognizes this guy as the new number 2. Okay, so when he does this, you know, he becomes a curl player. He becomes a curl player, and then he needs to break to that bubble screen and react to the football. You know, when we do have, you know, it's always important to realize that when we get this and we get this, that this guy is the new number 2 receiver, and that's the guy he will read. He needs to see both of these guys. He needs to see both of these guys so he can trigger when he needs to be working underneath number 1. Going back to the tight end with width in the formation, if you know, very often we get a shotgun formation, and we tell this guy, you know, in shotgun formation, his job is to buzz, you know, that single width right there. But what happens a lot of times, if the back is tilted this way, or he comes this way in protection, you know, we're going to get a backer working this way. And so very often we will squeeze, you know, we'll either squeeze or we'll buzz, depending on game plan. But if the back comes this way, we know the backer is going to be helping with the tight end, so we can buzz. If the back is set away, and we'll decide that in a game plan and pre-snap read. If the back is set away, we know we're not going to get any help with this tight end. And so our game plan very often will be to squeeze that tight end right there. We will take, when we have a trip situation, and we will skate that, okay, and we'll skate that when we have that single receiver on the backside. Any type of trips, we will skate that. And by that we mean, we're telling this guy, we've got to kick all of our underneath coverage over. We're telling this Falcon to the trip side, he becomes a buzz player, which again means he's a wheel player. We also are telling the Falcon away from skate. His skate technique is that, we know that this corner is really pretty much man-to-man over here, to back up over his position, and to be really aware of, number one, that remaining back to be screening back over here, but he's backing up over his position, and also to be concerned about number 3 drag and a shallow drag across. So he's trying to help out the corner by backing up over his position. All right, eyeballs on this back, and be able to break back to the number 3 receiver crosser. If the back is away, of course, sometimes you'll get this. Now you're going to get the number 3 coming back across. If the back is away, you may also get this guy screening up right here. We've got to go and attack that guy. You're really man-to-man on that back.
The buzz technique by the Falcon at the bottom of the screen, working out to 1. The linebacker's patterning 2, still working to 2, he's carrying 2. The boundary Falcon is just securing any screen threat that might be back in the boundary, giving help to the corner. The corner's playing inside third at the top. This is particularly a nice job of dividing 1 and 2 at the bottom, all right, with a nice job of understanding the deep ball awareness of the fade by the corner at the top. All right, just a last concept here real quick. We do a little something different out of cover 3 versus the bootleg scheme. We feel like you must defend the flat route off the bootleg and the drag, and thus we take and bring our curl defender or our buzz defender out of any kind of depth and immediately match the chipper and carry the wheel. And then our free safety will cut the drag, taking the linebacker out of that run pass conflict that he's in. And then our 2 corners recognizing boot will then match up and play as man on number 1. So this is our principal way of playing a bootleg, and I think it keeps us from getting into a lot of games where we see a bootleg quite a bit, because we try to take away the easiest throws.
Let's talk about cover 1 real quickly. We do play some man coverage in a 4-man rush, and in cover 1, what we're telling the Falcon is that he is man-to-man on the number 2 receiver. All right, so what we have to be aware of is a 2-back, is a 1-back. So let's talk about 2-back run support first. When we have a 2-back situation in cover 1, very simple. The Falcon to the 2 receiver side has him man-to-man. Okay, the Falcon away from the 2 receiver side, there is no number 2. His rule is number 2. If there is no number 2 on his side, okay, and there's 2 backs in the backfield, then he makes a funnel call. And in this situation, it's going to be funnel left. All right, he's going to be funnel left. And what that means is that he's telling, we have got 2 remaining linebackers that are not involved in the front, in the rush, okay? 2 remaining linebackers. So we have a funnel left call. All right, he's telling whichever 2 are remaining, we lose 1 linebacker in the rush, so we're in a 4-man rush, and he's telling these 2 remaining linebackers, funnel left. Okay, now what that means is that these 3 guys will play these 2 guys man-to-man, okay? And it depends on how they break out of the backfield. So if, for instance, both of these guys go away from the funnel call, all right, then the linebacker, the widest linebacker, if they both go away, the widest linebacker's got the widest receiver. The next linebacker, not involved in the rush, has got the inside back, man-to-man, okay? And this guy plays what we call a low hole, where he's going to back up over the football, look for any, to try to help anybody dragging across the formation. And he's a low hole player, okay? He's a low hole player. And so he gets to about a 4 to 5 yard depth at the most, gets over the football, and once once pass is determined, and then he is going to help with anybody who's dragging. Somebody's going to have trouble, may get picked going through here, so he's going to help with anybody coming across the formation. If both backs go his way, even though he's made a funnel left call, okay, then he has got the widest guy. The next available linebacker has got the next guy, and this guy becomes the low hole player, okay, and so he is again looking for any kind of crosser. If the backs divide, okay, then the near linebacker has the widest guy, the funnel guy has the widest guy here, and this guy becomes the hole player. And so, that's our man coverage in a two-back set. Okay, man coverage in a two-back set. All right, cover one back. Okay, and what we do here, again, is we're telling the Falcon, you've got the number 2 receiver. All right, so there's a number 2 receiver here. There's a number 2 receiver. This Falcon has that number 2 receiver. This Falcon has that number 2 receiver. He's going to take an outside alignment, and because we've got deep middle help, his help is inside. He wants to make sure everything funnels to his free safety. Okay, he's got an outside alignment. All right, and we're going to again vary our. We're going to be about 7 here. We're going to vary our alignment here depending on, is the ball into the boundary, is the ball in the middle of the field, what's the backfield set, and take all those things again into consideration that we talked about before. Okay, so this is the way we'll line up when we have a balanced set and we've got a number 2 receiver available. Okay, it's in a one-back set. As soon as we get to a trip situation, now what we're going to do is we're going to tell that we're going to switch with this corner here. Instead of us going over and playing this wide receiver over here, our weak side corner, will play free safety. We'll move him to free safety, and we'll play this tight end backside man-to-man, okay? And, we'll line up this way, and this is the way that we'd like to be as far, and now again, our free safety, and we may even switch out here depending on the personnel. Our free safety will take the number 3 receiver here, okay? If we're open in on the backside, and we can't do that because we're open on the backside, our corner is locked on here, okay, he's manned there, and our, we've got trips over here, then this Falcon here will make a bump call. Free safety will take the number 3 receiver, okay, and this Falcon will line up in the middle third. And of course, we can get motion where the Falcon is lined up on this guy, and when we get motion to trips, okay, we've got to make a bump call, and we've got to move that safety back over there. And again, anytime we can switch where the Falcon plays the tight end, and one of the 3 deep is going to play, a more skilled guy man-to-man, then we will do that. Again, as I opened up and talked about our personnel, you can see that there's a diversity of jobs that this position has got to be able to accomplish. He's got to be a linebacker, when the ball's run, he's got to be a defensive back on passing downs, and got to be a physical guy. He's got to have a lot of mobility, and I think you look for a guy that that can almost play corner, but he's real. He's a real physical guy, and again, it seems like taking a guy from the back of the defense and moving him up seems to be the better way to go, rather than taking linebackers and trying to get them, lighter and more mobile. It seems to be a better way to go. And we're excited about the where we've come with the defense, and that we have developed some guys, that I think are really suited for this position, and we see that, and we're learning, with the defense as we go, and I think it's the future is going to be pretty exciting.
Well, I hope you've gotten an opportunity to kind of see a little bit more of what we do here at the Academy. Playing cover 3, pattern read zone, with some of the set checks that we do with it in order to adjust to trips and other things, are the cornerstone of what we do. Much of our zone blitz package comes off of a 3D base, and so the back divider, inside third, middle third play by the free safety carries over to even our zone blitz package. And so much of what we do here we share with you, and just our hope is that you're able to get something from this. And please feel free to call us for any clarifications we can ever help you with, and I hope that this has been a good session for you.